has just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
What if the fairy tale of Meghan's royal journey was never as authentic as it seemed?
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
What if her entire story wasn't just embellished but crafted piece by piece for public consumption? According to Samantha, Meghan would still be working ordinary jobs if not for the support of their father. This idea has sparked major questions.
Scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
Meghan Markle's image, the radiant mother, the outspoken duchess, the voice of a new kind of royalty, could be less organic and more manufactured.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
For those who have followed this saga, the controversy feels almost inevitable. Doubts about the children and Meghan's pregnancies have lingered for years. She often portrayed herself as the outsider who triumphed over royal traditions, rewriting the script for modern monarchy.
And there's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
In past interviews, Meghan has said she grew up as an only child, insisting she longed for siblings and was thrilled at the thought of giving Archie a brother or sister. Yet Samantha disputes these statements, calling them fictionalized. According to her, Meghan's entire public narrative amounts to acting, not reality. Samantha says the differences weren't accidental, but calculated. And now she claims the polished surface is cracking. This goes far beyond minor family disagreements. Samantha frames it as deliberate deception, one bold enough to challenge the legitimacy of the monarchy itself. Observers note that such a crisis won't settle until irrefutable evidence comes forward. This isn't the usual swirl of gossip or tabloid headlines. These are allegations that Meghan didn't merely exaggerate. She created an entirely new persona. There are even online theories suggesting her children don't exist as presented, with some claiming they were generated artificially. Extreme speculation, but still widely circulated. The accusations strike at the heart of royal tradition. Meghan's motherhood story, if revealed as fabricated, could undermine the legacy of her children. Critics ask, why create lies when the truth would suffice? Calls grow louder for simple DNA confirmation to end the whispers once and for all. The tension escalated further when a woman came forward, known only as DL, claiming she was the actual surrogate behind Meghan's pregnancies. That shifts the question entirely. It's no longer about whether Meghan can give another high-profile interview. The focus becomes whether the Duchess can withstand the truth itself. Skeptics argue that if Meghan had nothing to hide, she could easily present clear documentation and settle the matter. Samantha insists she entered the spotlight not to complain about neglect, but to dismantle what she views as her sister's fabricated image. From her very first remarks, Samantha reversed the narrative. Instead of Meghan being portrayed as the victim of press harassment, Samantha casts her as the creator of her own false empire. She says this isn't authenticity, it's theater, a carefully scripted Hollywood production dressed in royal branding. When Meghan told the world she had lost her father, Samantha countered that their father was very much alive, accusing Meghan of deliberately cutting him out. According to Samantha, this wasn't distancing, but erasure. Every interview, every humanitarian photograph, every polished biography, in her words, these were propaganda rather than reality. Samantha claims Meghan didn't enter royal life with grace, but instead reconstructed her own past, omitting anyone who didn't fit the image. Family connections were deleted, personal struggles rewritten, and motherhood, according to Samantha, became the crown jewel of the supposed deception. She argues that Meghan misled Prince Harry and even the royal family about her background, suggesting her stories simply didn't align with the truth. Samantha S. As she's not lashing out from jealousy, but positioning herself as the one tearing away the mask. In her telling, there's no middle ground. Either Meghan's version stands, or it collapses as one of the most sophisticated performances in royal history. And then came DL. Just when critics thought the allegations couldn't become more explosive, DL stepped forward, not just with speculation, but with alleged proof. She claimed to possess hospital invoices, medical records, and hints of confidentiality agreements. According to DL, she was the actual surrogate who carried Meghan's children. She argued that Meghan's glowing public pregnancy appearances, cradling her stomach, stepping out in designer gowns, were a show. DL alleged she was the one experiencing the real pregnancies, but hidden away, isolated, and silenced. Promises of privacy and fair compensation, she said, turned into betrayal. The imagery was stark. While cameras snapped Meghan gently holding a baby bump, DL claimed she was carrying the royal heirs in secrecy, erased from the official story. At first, many dismissed DL's words as tabloid drama, but her account included detailed claims, recruitment meetings in California, private contracts signed, and months of seclusion that resembled confinement more than a pregnancy journey. She spoke of the loneliness of carrying children who would grow up as royal heirs while being excluded from their history.
Why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
DL described complications after birth, rising medical bills, and the emotional burden of being erased. These accounts turned gossip into something more sinister. Meghan's speeches about female empowerment sounded empty when placed next to DL's allegations. If even partly true, Meghan wasn't uplifting women. She was silencing one under legal pressure. Critics noted Meghan was already labeled as an actress turned duchess. DL's testimony extended that label, suggesting Meghan played not only the role of royal rebel, but also the role of mother. And as DL spoke with such specificity, it became harder to dismiss her as a conspiracy theorist. Observers expected Meghan and Harry to swiftly deny the claims, perhaps even offer DNA testing to end speculation. Instead, they remained silent. And in the court of public opinion, silence rarely reads as dignity. It often signals suspicion. DL even went so far as to offer sworn testimony and to present her records. Yet the Sussexes did not respond. No explanations, no rebuttals, not even vague statements. For critics, the silence appeared intentional, not respectful. And if there was truly nothing to conceal, they ask, why allow such speculation to thrive? Even Harry, once considered the royal rebel, is now viewed by some as either complicit or misled. Did he know from the beginning, or was he also part of the illusion? Either way, their refusal to speak has damaged both their reputations. The irony is striking. This is the couple who built their public brand on telling their truth. Yet, in the moment when transparency could save them, they remain quiet. And that silence, critics argue, may be their most telling statement yet. Royal births have never been mere personal occasions. They are traditions played out before the world, with rituals cemented across centuries. When Princess Diana left St. Mary's Hospital holding her newborn, she was exhausted but visible, ensuring the public saw there was no secrecy. Kate Middleton followed the same path, stepping out 3 times, presenting each child within hours of delivery. These moments reassured the nation that the process was transparent and above suspicion. But Meghan broke with every part of that ritual. There were no hospital steps, no press calls, no confirmation of location. Instead, layers of secrecy fueled speculation. Critics argue this wasn't privacy, but avoidance. One royal physician was reportedly not allowed to confirm her pregnancy directly, a sharp departure from tradition. Many questioned why, if carrying a royal child, Meghan would not choose to have the best medical experts visibly involved. Then came the inconsistencies, photographs that didn't seem to match timelines, unusual appearances, and of course the widely circulated clip of her stomach appearing to fold while walking in a patterned dress. Supporters dismissed it as camera tricks, but the footage became one of the most replayed pieces of so-called evidence fueling suspicion. To critics, Meghan seemed less like a mother breaking outdated customs and more like an actress staging scenes. Props, camera-ready moments, designer wardrobes. It felt to them like a Hollywood presentation, not a royal milestone. The royal institution depends heavily on patterns and tradition. Whenever those patterns are disrupted, questions arise. For Meghan and Harry, every deviation from protocol appeared to add fuel to theories that were already circulating widely online. At the core of all this is one haunting question. Why did Meghan's pregnancies appear so unlike those of every royal woman before her? This is where speculation shifts from gossip to potential constitutional challenge. Because if DL's account has any truth, then the matter isn't only about who carried the children, it's whether those children meet the strict succession laws that govern the monarchy. Royal lineage isn't based on perception, it's based on verified birth, proof of descent, and transparency. Tradition dictates that heirs are born from the royal mother, witnessed and documented beyond doubt. Meghan's pregnancies, surrounded by secrecy, rumors of non-disclosure agreements, and shifting timelines, cast a shadow over those requirements. If surrogacy was involved but never disclosed, legal experts argue it could undermine the children's status in the line of succession. That possibility raises alarms not just within gossip circles, but within constitutional debates. Analysts warn that the monarchy cannot afford ambiguity. Its power lies in clarity and legitimacy. If doubts linger, the stability of succession is questioned. And in this case, two young children stand at the center of the storm, not because of who they are, but because of how their births were allegedly managed and concealed. Samantha Markle emphasizes this in her commentary. In her view, Meghan misled not only the public, but also her husband and the royal family itself. She insists Meghan's stories about her past and her motherhood simply don't align with reality. Samantha frames her role as the one breaking the illusion, exposing a deception she says has global consequences. She presents Meghan not as a victim of relentless press coverage, but as the author of her own narrative, one constructed to perfection, designed to hide any inconvenient truths. Every charity event, every glossy interview, every speech about resilience and authenticity is painted as theater. Then DL's account deepened the crisis. She described being recruited discreetly in California, signing private contracts, and living through long months of isolation. According to her, it wasn't a journey of motherhood, but a process of being hidden, managed, and ultimately forgotten. DL claims Meghan presented a carefully staged pregnancy to the cameras while she herself carried the children out of sight. Her accounts of postpartum struggles, financial stress from medical bills, and emotional strain add painful detail to the broader allegations. Observers who once dismissed her as a rumor monger began to take notice, because DL didn't just speak in vague terms. She described meetings, locations, and conditions with specificity that is harder to ignore. And then came the silence. With allegations this serious, many expected the Sussexes to immediately release a statement or take steps to disprove them. But no such thing came. Instead, DL continued to speak publicly, in offering to provide medical records or appear under oath. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan said nothing. Their silence, rather than calming the situation, made it worse. Commentators argued that true privacy wasn't the motive. Deliberate avoidance was. If there was nothing to hide, why not deny the claims directly? Harry, once seen as outspoken and rebellious, now faces criticism too. To some, he looks like an accomplice. To others, a man trapped inside the illusion. Either way, silence places him in the same shadow as his wife. The contradiction is glaring. The couple who encouraged the world to believe in their truth are now accused of withholding the most basic truths of all. And in this situation, absence of denial speaks louder than any press release ever could. Royal watchers point out another issue. Meghan's entire approach to motherhood broke long-established traditions, replacing them with secrecy and confusion. The public, accustomed to transparency in such matters, found themselves excluded. Each missing element, the hospital steps, the medical confirmation, the timeline clarity, looked less like progress and more like evasion. And as weeks passed without answers, whispers grew into louder suspicions. What began as family drama now looked like a constitutional question, with potential to affect the monarchy itself. When confronted, many public figures would issue clear evidence to protect their reputations. Meghan and Harry, however, are known for relying on legal teams. Reports suggest that once DL's claims gained traction, their lawyers began sending warnings to media outlets. But notably, none of those letters contained a direct denial. And that absence became the center of attention. The The couple who built their public identity around authenticity and openness were now relying on legal intimidation without evidence. For critics, that was not a show of strength, but of vulnerability. Public relations experts weighed in harshly. They said that while legal threats may temporarily silence newspapers, they cannot silence. Ends online chatter, and without a denial, speculation only grows. In fact, the strategy seemed to make DL's claims appear more credible, as though something was being actively suppressed. This is the paradox at the heart of the scandal. The questions aren't only about what has been said, but also about what remains unsaid. And in this case, Meghan and Harry's silence is louder than words. The debate intensified around whether Meghan's pregnancies were real, whether a surrogate was involved, or whether, as some critics argue, she used padding to simulate a baby bump. In this narrative, Meghan and Harry's critics say the couple lied and that Buckingham Palace protected them through a cover-up. According to these voices, Prince Archie's birth was surrounded by secrecy rather than honesty. As silence dragged on, public opinion began to shift. Surveys indicated growing numbers of people found DL's account more believable than Meghan's carefully crafted story. The once unshakable brand of the Sussexes, built through documentaries, interviews, and polished PR, suddenly looked fragile. Major milestones of their media empire, the Oprah Winfrey interview, their Netflix series, high-profile speeches, were re-examined with suspicion. What once appeared to be heartfelt advocacy for truth now came across to many as calculated performance. Behind palace walls and Hollywood estates, whispers suggested Meghan and Harry were losing not only the media war, but also public trust. Insiders described rising tension in their relationship, portraying them more as business partners trying to salvage a brand than as a couple united by love. Samantha Markle didn't hold back in adding to the damage. She insisted this wasn't karma, but exposure. The unraveling of a carefully maintained illusion. In her framing, Meghan wasn't rewriting royal history, but authoring one of the greatest fabricats ions the monarchy had ever seen. For many observers, Meghan's silence felt like an unspoken admission.